Hello and welcome back to episode 6. In this episode we're going to be focused on finishing crafting the Mirage, making the Necromech, and progressing our standings further. On Deimos, Fortuna, and Cetus, and of course, Quills, and a little bit of Little Duck. It is a little bit difficult at this point to grind Little Duck, but as soon as we get our Necromech, just to level it up a little bit, we'll be using it to actually get some Toroids, which will of course help us get the Little Duck standing. You'll also notice that from now on I'll be doing some trades. It's either trades through the Warframe market website, or through my clanies by trading parts or plat. Off equivalent exchange, of course. The biggest grind ahead of us is going to be the Necromech, of course. And it has taken quite a few hours to actually get all the materials. So having gone through that, I can recommend you on how to do it in the best possible way. For the most part, I would recommend using the Sunpoint drill. Only very few of the materials are not actually rare materials, so the Sunpoint drill that we picked up is superior for acquiring the Necromech materials. As for the fishing on Deimos, we already picked up the spear, so that part shouldn't really be difficult in of itself. You just need to figure out whether the fish spawns in caves or open lakes. That's going to heavily depend on whether it is the Voam or fast rotation. If you are fishing on the open lakes, I highly recommend to also be doing obelisks at the same time whenever you're being attacked by the infested. You should also be using the Umbra Warframe at this point to support you while you're doing those obelisks. The reason for this, of course, is because the obelisks have to be done specifically by your operator. However, while you're out in your operator form, Umbra skills do actually count towards the contribution towards the obelisk's completion. And if you don't know what the obelisk rewards are, they are rare materials depending on what type of void rune it is. While you don't have to be targeting a specific rune, you could look this up on Wiki if you wanted to. But generally speaking, regardless of the rune, if there is an obelisk near you, you should definitely complete it. It may significantly speed up the process of you acquiring the rare materials necessary depending on how lucky you are. As for the damaged Necromech parts, you do not need to do the vault anymore, and you only really have to buy them from the father. They're 2,000 standing each, and you should have plenty of standing just by completing the mother bounties. At this point, with the Zorus, we have more than enough damage to be able to do the final bounty. And later on in the video, we'll be acquiring Mirage, which will allow us to do the Eidolon fights, and of course I'll be doing it with my clanmates. And I highly recommend to do the same. Doing it in open public at this moment is going to be incredibly difficult, at the very least until we acquire our own amp. And for the sake of speed, I'm going to be getting the 222 amp instead of the 223 amp, which stands for Schwak, Shraksun, Jutni brace instead of the Lauren brace that people recommend normally. This is done specifically for the sake of speed, and I'll be upgrading to the Certus brace as soon as possible from Little Duck. I highly recommend to take your time and get the Lauren brace instead. This is of course due to the higher critical chance that it offers, and it will speed up your Eidolon kills significantly. And of course the reason why we want the Certus brace as soon as possible from Little Duck is because it achieves the same purpose, providing us even more critical chance for our amp. As for the Warframe options in general, it's worth mentioning that the way I'm playing the game is incredibly difficult due to the fact that I'm running no defensive mods. If at any moment you feel like it's progressing too fast, you should slow down and acquire yourself more defensive mods and Forma to actually upgrade your Warframes for your own protection. Keep in mind you should be getting plenty of Lith relics and Meso relics just by doing ESO and many other things, so you should be able to run relics and then get all the necessary formats that you need. Keep an eye out for rare relics and check their prices. You can make a lot of easy plat this way. It's especially worth saying that for the most part of this account I'll be playing the Mirage frame, which amplifies your damage but has little in the ways of defense. So if that's too much for you, I highly recommend to play the Revenant, which will be also acquiring for index purposes, but you may play it more often for generic purposes. The middle of the road Warframe here is of course Mag, that is able to achieve most things quite capably, while also having her own inbuilt shield restores. However, of course, she does suffer against infested due to the toxin damage. So here I'm just progressing to unlock the new Loca. As already previously stated, these are mods that we're going to be able to trade between players, and of course a lot of the mag mods that we need. Most notably for our build here, we also need the Greedy Pool. And additionally, if you didn't trade for Magnetized Discharge, you'll also need the Magnetized Discharge from her. Right after the fact, we'll be introducing ourselves to the new war quest. We'll be doing the Era Cinematic.
Let her go.
If I had a heart, it would be broken. If my eyes could weep, I'd be blind. Look at what they've made of you. You're a god. You're a queen. But somehow the bees have you as a hostage. Do you even recognize me anymore?
I recognize the enemy.
No. Sister, it's me. Era. The Makers caught you, unraveled your mind. They're using you to kill us. The Queen of the Aphids, with her eye in the void. But I don't blame you. I blame them. You believe these are your children, but I am the only family you've got left. So choose our family, our people, or these parasites. Choose, Natah. Choose!
I am not Natah. I am the Lotus.
So let's talk about the clan dojo crafts a little bit and the invasions. The invasions are on rotation every few hours. You should definitely pay attention to what rewards they're going to give. For example, yesterday there was a rotation for an Orokin reactor, which are of course used to double the capacity of your Warframe. But more often than not, they contain advanced crafting materials necessary to make the dojo weapons. And as you saw there in my foundry, I'm constantly crafting mutagen masses, and I've picked up the Jinn and the Torrid. Our main goal in this series, MR-wise, will be to hit MR11 for the dual Toxicist, and I won't really be going any much higher than that. The Torrid and the dual Toxicist will be our primary damage sources for the endgame content, alongside our melee weapon of course. And the Jinn is an incredibly useful sentinel that can revive you whenever you go down. though we'll need to purchase the sacrifice mod for it with platinum because it was available only in one of the previous events. There's plenty of other amazing weapons that you should keep an eye out for, and I always recommend trying different things. Just because I'm going to be building these weapons does not mean that you need to focus on these weapons too. They are simply easy to acquire and to get started on, and you should never overly focus on any specific thing. As an additional note, specifically for Torrid and Dual Toxicist, they're not even particularly good until we acquire Incarnats for them, and that will be significantly later once we complete the Zyraman, we unlock the Steel Path, and we have already done Duviri's Paradox. The Steel Path rotation on circuit for the Dual Toxicist and the Torrid is next week, so I will be trying to accomplish that before then. Here I want to quickly introduce you to Arcanes. You can acquire them from all kinds of different sources. The Arcanes here I have come from the Eidolons, as I have started running Eidolons with my clanmates to generate the necessary standing for the quills. As I've said before, this is not necessary for you at this point in time. If you do not feel comfortable with doing Eidolons at this point in time, you should just simply do the Vomvalist grind every single night. You will of course have to start doing the Eidolons by the time you get to rank 2, so do keep that in mind. As for the Arcanes themselves, they are equipped onto your Warframe, or the Operator, or your weapons, depending on what kind of Arcanes they are, and they provide additional bonuses for some kind of condition. For example, one of the Arcanes I told us to focus on being Magus Elevate, which comes from the quills. It is incredibly important because it restores your health whenever you enter and exit the Operator. Here you'll see I'm purchasing all the necessary parts for my amp, and then I'll be farming for the materials necessary to make it. One of the materials being a Norg brain, which is a fish that spawns only at night. It's best fished with its own bait, so I highly recommend that you hit rank 3 with the Ostrons first, so that you can buy the said bait. If you've been following these videos quite closely, you should be very close to rank 3 Ostrons, which I was too. All I really had to do was complete my daily standing to achieve rank 3. The rest of the materials are simply mined, except of course for the Cetus Wisps, but I've already previously stated that you can acquire them by simply flying along water's edges at nighttime. So I've been doing a bunch of different relic runs here, and I'll also be starting to grind for Protea on the side, all of which gives us a lot of void traces, and we can finally start doing the corrupted key runs. You'll also see that at this point in time I already have the Mirage, and you'll be seeing her quite often. Here I'm carrying all the keys myself. If you don't feel confident in doing that, you can form pre-made key parties by asking in a recruit chat, where every person carries their own key. I also highly recommend for you to do the exterminate mission instead of the capture mission the way I'm doing here. In essence, the exterminate allows you to explore the map much better, and therefore you have much higher odds of finding the door. Where to capture spawns the door anywhere on the map, and you'd have to run around and know exactly where you're going to find the door. So unless you have a lot of experience on playing on the derelict tile set, I don't recommend to do capture. There is a lot of different corrupted mods that we are looking for, and any duplicates you have you should definitely sell. You should of course price check every single mod you get, and if you haven't already made your Warframe market account and are trading people, you should definitely do so. If you are looking, however, for some quick plat, you can always look under the want to buy section. It will be slightly undercut, so do keep that in mind. And generally speaking, if you do register your mod for sale, it doesn't take all too long for it to actually sell. With this now, we'll have a steady income of plat that we can either flip for corrupted mods that we don't already have, completing our collection much faster, or for example for acquiring Magus Elevate much earlier, allowing us to have that HP sustain that we need to survive the missions. You can also of course use the plat to purchase yourself a primed frame, but do keep in mind that in doing so, Warframe loadout slots are quite minimal, and therefore you'll probably have to purchase one of those too. Great example being, it's quite difficult to farm Protea, therefore buying Protea Prime is fine, she's usually between 40 to 60 plat, however, you'll also need the 20 additional plat to purchase the Warframe slot. As for the corrupted key runs themselves, there is really no secret here. You have to learn the tile set, you're looking for the door will say what type of key it needs to be opened, you'll pick up the reward within, and then you have to exit. Here are some example mods that we are looking for. Do keep in mind that it's beneficial to have duplicates of some mods such as Blind Rage, allowing us to min-max the efficiency cost for the gain in strength. Also, the same logic applies to mods such as Fleeting Expertise and Narrow-Minded. And as stated before, you should definitely not max out these mods at this point in time. If the mod has 10 ranks, leave it at rank 7. Maxing out these mods will cost way too much endo, and we simply can't sustain that kind of endo income. Here in the background I'm doing a Granum Void run. This is one of the ways that we can get Void Traces without opening relics. I am of course also doing this for the Protea Warframe, and as previously stated, we could also just buy the primed version of her. However, we'll eventually have to get the baseline version anyway due to the subsume for Helminth, because we'll want to extract her dispensary from many useful playstyles. Granum Void can feel quite challenging at this point in time, but the way we've built the Zoris for this point in the game should allow you to handle it actually quite easily. Make sure you're moving around a lot and picking up all the different time fragments. I also highly recommend that you free the Solaris United trapped within. It gives you 100 standing each and can help you complete the Solaris United daily standing much faster. The drop rate for Protea is quite low, it's about 10% for each difficulty. Make sure to look up what mission it is that you need to be doing. Here I'm doing the capture mission on Phobos. I believe it's called Skyresh. This will also be the last part of the video. So thank you so much for watching. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Multiply again, but for now the situation is under control. Come on home. Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching. Robots inbound.
Your crowns are safe in my grasp, oh Parvos. Protect me!
Mission complete. Excellent work, Tenno.